he in whom a desire for the ineffable, nirvana, has sprung up, who is satisfied in his mind, and whose thoughts are not bewildered by love, he is called Udvaram Strotas, carried upwards by the stream. Kinsmen, friends, and lovers, salute a man who has been long away, and returns safe from afar. In like manner, his good works receive him who has done good, and has gone from this world to the other, as kinsmen receive a friend on his return. Chapter 17. Anger. Let a man leave anger. Let him forsake pride. Let him overcome all bondage. No sufferings befall the man who is not attached to name and form, and who calls nothing his own. He who holds back rising anger like a rolling chariot, him I call a real driver. Other people are but holding the reins. Let a man overcome anger by love. Let him overcome evil by good. Let him overcome the greedy by liberality, the liar by truth. Speak the truth. Do not yield to anger. Give if thou art asked for little. By these 3 steps thou wilt go near the gods. The sages who injure nobody, and who always control their body, they will go to the unchangeable place, nirvana, where, if they have gone, they will suffer no more. Those who are ever watchful, who study day and night, and who strive after nirvana, their passions will come to an end. This is an old saying, O Atula. This is not only of today. They blame him who sits silent, they blame him who speaks much. They also blame him who says little. There is no one on earth who is not blamed. There never was, there never will be, nor is there now, a man who is always blamed, or a man who is always praised. But he whom those who discriminate praise continually day after day, as without blemish, wise, rich in knowledge and virtue, who would dare to blame him, like a coin made of gold from the Gambu river. Even the gods praise him. He is praised even by Brahman. Beware bodily anger, and control thy body. Leave the sins of the body, and with thy body practice virtue. Beware of the anger of the tongue, and control thy tongue. Leave the sins of the tongue, and practice virtue with thy tongue. Beware of the anger of the mind, and control thy mind. Leave the sins of the mind, and practice virtue with thy mind. The wise who control their body, who control their tongue, who control their mind, are indeed well controlled. Chapter 18. Impurity. Thou art now like a sear leaf. The messengers of death, Yama, have come near to thee. Thou standest at the door of thy departure, and thou hast no provision for thy journey. Make thyself an island, work hard, wise. When thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt enter into the heavenly world of the elect, Ariya. Thy life has come to an end, thou art near to death. There is no resting place for thee on the road, and thou hast no provision for thy journey. Make thyself an island, work hard, be wise. When thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt not enter again into birth and decay. Let a wise man blow off the impurities of self, as a smith blows off the impurities of silver one by one, little by little, and from time to time. As the impurity which springs from the iron, when it springs from it, destroys it, thus to a transgressor's own works lead him to the evil path. The taint of prayers is non-repetition. The taint of houses, non-repair. The taint of the body is sloth. The taint of a watchman, thoughtlessness. Bad conduct is the taint of woman. Greediness, the taint of a benefactor. Tainted are all evil ways in this world and in the next. But there is a taint worse than all taints. Ignorance is the greatest taint. O mendicants, throw off that taint and become taintless. Life is easy to live for a man who is without shame, a crow hero, a mischief maker, an insulting, bold, and wretched fellow. But life is hard to live for a modest man, who always looks for what is pure, who is disinterested, quiet, spotless, and intelligent. He who destroys life, who speaks untruth, who in this world takes what is not given him, who goes to another man's wife, and the man who gives himself to drinking intoxicating liquors, he, even in this world, digs up his own root. O man, know this, that the unrestrained are in a bad state. Take care that greediness and vice do not bring thee to grief for a long time. The world gives according to their faith or according to their pleasure. If a man frets about the food and the drink given to others, he will find no rest either by day or by night. He in whom that feeding is destroyed and taken out with the very root finds rest by day and by night. There is no fire like passion. There is no shark like hatred. There is no snare like folly. There is no torrent like greed. The fault of others is easily perceived, but that of oneself is difficult to perceive. A man winnows his neighbour's faults like chaff, but his own fault he hides, as a cheat hides the bad die from the gambler. If a man looks after the faults of others and is always inclined to be offended, his own passions will grow, and he is far from the destruction of passions. There is no path through the air. A man is not a samana by outward acts. The world delights in vanity. The Tathagatas, the Buddhas, are free from vanity. There is no path through the air. A man is not a samana by outward acts. No creatures are eternal, but the awakened Buddha are never shaken. Chapter 19. The Just. A man is not just if he carries a matter by violence. No, he who distinguishes both right and wrong, who is learned and leads others not by violence but by law and equity, and who is guarded by the law and intelligent, he is called just. A man is not learned because he talks much. He who is patient, free from hatred and fear, he is learned. A man is not a supporter of the law because he talks much. Even if a man has learnt little but sees the law bodily, he is a supporter of the law. A man who never neglects them. A man is not an elder because his head is grey. His age may be ripe, but he is called old in vain. He in whom there is truth, virtue, love, restraint, moderation, he who is free from impurity and is wise, he is called an elder. An envious, greedy, dishonest man does not become respectable by means of much talking only, or by the beauty of his complexion. He in whom all this is destroyed and taken out with the very root, he, when free from hatred and wise, is called respectable. Not by tonsure does a disciplined man who speaks falsehood become a samana. Can a man be a samana who is still held captive by desire and greediness? He who always quiets the evil, whether small or large, he is called a samana, a quiet man, because he has quieted all evil. A man is not a mendicant, bhikshu, simply because he asks others for alms. He who adopts the whole law is a bhikshu, not he who only begs. He who is above good and evil, who is chaste, who with knowledge passes through the world, he indeed is called a bhikshu. A man is not a muni because he observes silence if he is foolish and ignorant, but the wise who, taking the balance, chooses the good and avoids the evil, he is a muni, and is a muni thereby. He who in this world weighs both sides is called a muni. A man is not an elect, Ariya, because he injures living creatures. Because he has pity on all living creatures, thereby is a man called Ariya. Not only by discipline and vows, not only by much learning, not by entering into a trance, not by sleeping alone, do I earn the happiness of release which no worldling can know. Bhikshu, be not confident, as long as thou hast not attained the extinction of desires. Chapter 20. The Way. The best of ways is the eightfold. The best of truths is the 4 words. The best of virtues, passionlessness. The best of men, he who has eyes to see. This is the way. There is no other that leads to the purifying of intelligence. Go on this way. Everything else is the deceit of Mara, the tempter. If you go on this way, you will make an end of pain. The way was preached by me when I had understood the removal of the thorns in the flesh. You yourself must make an effort. The Tathagatas, Buddhas, are only preachers. The thoughtful who enter the way are freed from the bondage of Mara. All created things perish. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way to purity. All created things are grief and pain. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. All forms are unreal. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. He who does not rouse himself when it is time to rise, who, though young and strong, is full of sloth, whose will and thought are weak, that lazy and idle man will never find the way to knowledge. Watching his speech, well restrained in mind, let a man never commit any wrong with his body. Let a man but keep these 3 roads of action clear, and he will achieve the way which is taught by the wise. Through zeal, knowledge is gotten. Through lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself, that knowledge may grow. Cut down the whole forest of lust, not a tree only. Danger comes out of the forest of lust. When you have cut down both the forest and its undergrowth, then, bhikshus, you will be rid of the forest and free. So long as the love of man towards women, even the smallest, is not destroyed, so long is his mind in bondage, as the calf that drinks milk is to its mother. Cut out the love of self like an autumn lotus with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by Sugata, Buddha. Here I shall dwell in the rain, here in winter and summer. Thus the fool meditates, and does not think of his death. Death comes and carries off that man, prays for his children and flocks, his mind distracted, as a flood carries off a sleeping village. Sons are no help, nor a father nor relations. There is no help from kinsfolk for one whom death has seized. A wise and good man that knows the meaning of this should quickly clear the way that leads to nirvana. Through zeal, knowledge is gotten. Through lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself, that knowledge may grow. Cut down the whole forest of lust, not only a tree. Danger comes out of the forest of lust. When you have cut down both the forest and its undergrowth, then, bhikshus, you will be rid of the forest and free. So long as the love of man towards women, even the smallest, is not destroyed, so long is his mind in bondage, as the calf that drinks milk is to its mother. Cut out the love of self, like an autumn lotus, with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by Sugata, Buddha. Chapter 21. Miscellaneous. If by leaving a small pleasure one sees a great pleasure, let a wise man leave the small pleasure and look to the great. He who, by causing pain to others, wishes to obtain pleasure for himself, he, entangled in the bonds of hatred, will never be free from hatred. What ought to be done is neglected. What ought not to be done is done. The desires of unruly, thoughtless people are always increasing. But they whose whole watchfulness is always directed to their body, who do not follow what ought not to be done, and who steadfastly do what ought to be done, the desires of such watchful and wise people will come to an end. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother and 2 valiant kings, though he has destroyed a kingdom with all its subjects. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother and 2 holy kings and an eminent man besides. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on Buddha. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the law. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the church. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on their body. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in compassion. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in meditation. It is hard to leave the world, to become a friar. It is hard to enjoy the world. Hard is the monastery. Painful are the houses. Painful it is to dwell with equals, to share everything in common, and the itinerant mendicant is beset with pain. Therefore let no man be an itinerant mendicant, and he will not be beset with pain. Whatever place a faithful, virtuous, celebrated, and wealthy man chooses, there he is respected. Good people shine from afar, like the snowy mountains. Bad people are not seen, like arrows shot at night. He alone who, without ceasing, practices the duty of sitting alone and sleeping alone, he, subduing himself, will rejoice in the destruction of all desires alone, as if living in a forest. Chapter 22. The Downward Course. He who says what is not goes to hell. He also who, having done a thing, says, I have not done it, after death both are equal. They are men with evil deeds in the next world. Many men whose shoulders are covered with the yellow gown are ill-conditioned and unrestrained. Such evildoers by their evil deeds go to hell. Better it would be to swallow a heated iron bowl, like flaring fire, than that a bad, unrestrained fellow should live on the charity of the land. 4 things does a reckless man gain who covets his neighbour's wife: a bad reputation, an uncomfortable bed, thirdly punishment, and lastly hell. There is the bad reputation and the evil way to hell. There is the short pleasure of the frightened in the arms of the frightened, and the king imposes heavy punishment. Therefore let no man think of his neighbour's wife. As a grass blade, if badly grasped, cuts the arm, badly practised asceticism leads to hell. An act carelessly performed, a broken vow, and hesitating obedience to discipline, all this brings no great reward. If anything is to be done, let a man do it. Let him attack it vigorously. A careless pilgrim only scatters the dust of his passions more widely. An evil deed is better left undone, for a man repents of it afterwards. A good deed is better done, for having done it, one does not repent. Like a well-guarded frontier fort, with defences within and without, so let a man guard himself. Not a moment should escape, for they who allow the right moment to pass suffer pain when they are in hell. They who are ashamed of what they ought not to be ashamed of, and are not ashamed of what they ought to be ashamed of, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who fear when they ought not to fear, and fear not when they ought to fear, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who forbid when there is nothing to be forbidden, and forbid not when there is something to be forbidden, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who know what is forbidden as forbidden, and what is not forbidden as not forbidden, such men, embracing the true doctrine, enter the good path. Chapter 23. The Elephant. Silently shall I endure abuse, as the elephant in battle endures the arrows sent from the bow, for this world is ill-natured. They lead a tamed elephant to battle. The king mounts a tamed elephant. The tamed is the best among men, he who silently endures abuse. Mules are good if tamed, and noble Sindhu horses, and elephants with large tusks, but he who tames himself is better still. For with these animals does no man reach the untrodden country, nirvana, where a tamed man goes on a tamed animal, vis-a-vis on his own well-tamed self. The elephant called Dhanapalika, his temples running with sap and difficult to hold, does not eat a morsel when bound. The elephant longs for the elephant grove. If a man becomes fat and a great eater, if he is sleepy and rolls himself about, that fool, like a hog fed on wash, is born again and again. This mind of mine went formerly wandering about as it liked, as it listed, as it pleased, but I shall now hold it in thoroughly, as the rider who holds the hook holds in the furious elephant. Be not thoughtless, watch your thoughts, draw yourself out of the evil way, like an elephant sunk in mud. If a man find a prudent companion who walks with him, is wise, and lives soberly, let him walk with him, overcoming all dangers, happy but considerate. If a man find no prudent companion who walks with him, is wise, and lives soberly, let him walk alone, like a king who has left his conquered country behind, like an elephant in the forest. It is better to live alone. There is no companionship with the fool. Let a man walk alone, let him commit no sin, with few wishes, like an elephant in the forest. If an occasion arises, friends are pleasant. Enjoyment is pleasant, whatever be the cause. A good work is pleasant in the hour of death. The giving up of all grief is pleasant. Pleasant in the world is the state of a mother, pleasant the state of a father, pleasant the state of a samana, pleasant the state of a brahmana. Pleasant is virtue lasting to old age. Pleasant is a faith firmly rooted. Pleasant is attainment of intelligence. Pleasant is avoiding of sins. Chapter 24. Thirst. The thirst of a thoughtless man grows like a creeper. He runs from life to life, like a monkey seeking fruit in the forest. Whomsoever this fierce thirst overcomes, full of poison, in this world his sufferings will increase like the abounding banana grass. He who overcomes this fierce thirst, difficult to be conquered in this world, sufferings fall off from him, like water drops from a lotus leaf. This salutary word I tell you, do ye, as many as are here assembled, dig up the root of thirst, as he who wants the sweet-scented Usira root must dig up the banana grass, that Mara the tempter may not crush you again and again, as the stream crushes the reeds. As a tree, even though it has been cut down, is firm so long as its root is safe, and grows again. Thus, unless the feeders of thirst are destroyed, the pain of life will return again and again. He whose thirst, running towards pleasure, is exceeding strong in the 36 channels, the waves will carry away that misguided man, vis-a-vis his desires which are set on passion. The channels run everywhere. The creeper of passion stands sprouting. If you see the creeper springing up, cut its roots by means of knowledge. A creature's pleasures are extravagant and luxurious. Sunk in lust and looking for pleasure, men undergo, again and again, birth and decay. Men, driven on by thirst, run about like a snared hare. Held in fetters and bonds, they undergo pain for a long time, again and again. Men driven on by thirst run about like a snared hare. Let, therefore, the mendicant drive out thirst, by striving after passionlessness for himself. He who, having got rid of the forest of lust after having reached nirvana, gives himself over to the forest life and lust, and who, when removed from the forest, runs to the forest, look at that man. Though free, he runs into bondage. Wise people do not call that a strong fetter which is made of iron, wood, or hemp. Far stronger is the care for precious stones and rings, for sons and a wife. That fetter wise people call strong, which drags down, yields, but is difficult to undo. After having cut this at last, people leave the world, free from cares, and leaving desires and pleasures behind. Those who are slaves to passions run down with the stream of desires, as a spider runs down the web which he has made himself. When they have cut this at last, wise people leave the world free from cares, leaving all affection behind. Give up what is before. Give up what is behind. Give up what is in the middle. When thou goest to the other shore of existence, if thy mind is altogether free, thou wilt not again enter into birth and decay. If a man is tossed about by doubts, full of strong passions, and yearning only for what is delightful, his thirst will grow more and more, and he will indeed make his fetters strong. If a man delights in quieting doubts, and always reflecting, dwells on what is not delightful, the impurity of the body, he certainly will remove, nay, he will cut the fetter of Mara. He who has reached the consummation, who does not tremble, who is without thirst and without sin, he has broken all the thorns of life. This will be his last body. He who is without thirst and without affection, who understands the words and their interpretation, who knows the order of letters, those which are before and which are after, he has received his last body. He is called the great sage, the great man. I have conquered all. I know all. In all conditions of life, I am free from taint. I have left all, and through the destruction of thirst, I am free. Having learned myself, whom shall I teach? The gift of law exceeds all gifts. The sweetness of law exceeds all sweetness. The delight in the law exceeds all delights. The extinction of thirst overcomes all pain. Pleasures destroy the foolish, if they look not for the other shore. The foolish, by his thirst for pleasures, destroys himself, as if he were his own enemy. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by passion. Therefore a gift bestowed on the passionless brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by hatred. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who do not hate brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by vanity. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who are free from vanity brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by lust. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who are free from lust brings great reward. Chapter 25. The Bhikshu, Mendicant. Restraint in the eye is good. Good is restraint in the ear. In the nose restraint is good. Good is restraint in the tongue. In the body restraint is good. Good is restraint in speech. In thought restraint is good. Good is restraint in all things. A bhikshu, restrained in all things, is freed from all pain. He who controls his hand, he who controls his feet, he who controls his speech, he who is well controlled, he who delights inwardly, who is collected, who is solitary and content, him they call bhikshu. The bhikshu who controls his mouth, who speaks wisely and calmly, who teaches the meaning and the law, his word is sweet. He who dwells in the law delights in the law, meditates on the law, follows the law. That bhikshu will never fall away from the true law. Let him not despise what he has received, nor ever envy others. A mendicant who envies others does not obtain peace of mind. A bhikshu who, though he receives little, does not despise what he has received, even the gods will praise him, if his life is pure, and if he is not slothful. He who never identifies himself with name and form, and does not grieve over what is no more, he is indeed called a bhikshu. The bhikshu who acts with kindness, who is calm in the doctrine of Buddha, will reach the quiet place, nirvana, cessation of natural desires, and happiness. O bhikshu, empty this boat. If emptied, it will go quickly. Having cut off passion and hatred, thou wilt go to nirvana. Cut off the five senses, leave the five, rise above the five. A bhikshu who has escaped from the five fetters, he is called Okatina, saved from the flood. Meditate, O bhikshu, and be not heedless. Do not direct thy thought to what gives pleasure, that thou mayest not, for thy heedlessness, have to swallow the iron bowl in hell, and that thou mayest not cry out when burning, this is pain. Without knowledge there is no meditation. Without meditation there is no knowledge. He who has knowledge and meditation is near unto nirvana. A bhikshu who has entered his empty house, and whose mind is tranquil, feels a more than human delight when he sees the law clearly. As soon as he has considered the origin and destruction of the elements of the body, he finds happiness and joy which belong to those who know the immortal nirvana. And this is the beginning here for a wise bhikshu. Watchfulness over the senses, contentedness, restraint under the law, keep noble friends whose life is pure and who are not slothful. Let him live in charity, let him be perfect in his duties, then in the fullness of delight he will make an end of suffering. As the Vasika plant sheds its withered flowers, men should shed passion and hatred, O ye bhikshus. The bhikshu whose body and tongue and mind are quieted, who is collected and has rejected the baits of the world, he is called quiet. Rouse thyself by thyself, examine thyself by thyself. Thus, self-protected and attentive, wilt thou live happily, O bhikshu. For self is the lord of self. Self is the refuge of self. Therefore curb thyself, as the merchant curbs a good horse. The bhikshu, full of delight, who is calm in the doctrine of Buddha, will reach the quiet place, nirvana, cessation of natural desires and happiness. He who, even as a young bhikshu, applies himself to the doctrine of Buddha, brightens up this world, like the moon when free from clouds. Chapter 26. The Brahmana, Arhat. Stop the stream valiantly, drive away the desires, O Brahmana. When you have understood the destruction of all that was made, you will understand that which was not made. If the Brahmana has reached the other shore in both laws, in restraint and contemplation, all bonds vanish from him who has obtained knowledge. He for whom there is neither this shore nor that shore, nor both, him, the fearless and unshackled, I call indeed a Brahmana. He who is thoughtful, blameless, settled, dutiful, without passions, and who has attained the highest end, him I call indeed the Brahmana. The sun is bright by day, the moon shines by night, the warrior is bright in his armor, the Brahmana is bright in his meditation. But Buddha, the awakened, is bright with splendor day and night. Because a man is rid of evil, therefore he is called Brahmana. Because he walks quietly, therefore he is called Samana. Because he has sent away his own impurities, therefore he is called Pravragita, a pilgrim. No one should attack a Brahmana, but no Brahmana, if attacked, should let himself fly at his aggressor. Woe to him who strikes a Brahmana, more woe to him who flies at his aggressor. It advantages a Brahmana not a little if he holds his mind back from the pleasures of life. When all wish to injure has vanished, pain will cease. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who does not offend by body, word, or thought, and is controlled on these 3 points. After a man has once understood the law, as taught by the well-awakened Buddha, let him worship it carefully, as the Brahmana worships the sacrificial fire. A man does not become a Brahmana by his plaited hair, by his family, or by birth. In whom there is truth and righteousness, he is blessed, he is a Brahmana. What is the use of plaited hair, O fool? What of the raiment of goatskins? Within thee there is ravening, but the outside thou makest clean. The man who wears dirty raiments, who is emaciated and covered with veins, who lives alone in the forest and meditates, him I call indeed a Brahmana. I do not call a man a Brahmana because of his origin or of his mother. He is indeed arrogant and he is wealthy, but the poor, who is free from all attachments, him I call indeed a Brahmana. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has cut all fetters, who never trembles, is independent and unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has cut the strap and the thong, the chain with all that pertains to it, who has burst the bar and is awakened. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, though he has committed no offence, endures reproach, bonds and stripes, who has endurance for his force and strength for his army. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who is free from anger, dutiful, virtuous, without appetite, who is subdued and has received his last body. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who does not cling to pleasures, like water on a lotus leaf, like a mustard seed on the point of a needle. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, even though he knows the end of his suffering, has put down his burden and is unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana whose knowledge is deep, who possesses wisdom, who knows the right way and the wrong, and has attained the highest end. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who keeps aloof both from laymen and from mendicants, who frequents no houses, and has but few desires. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who finds no fault with other beings, whether feeble or strong, and does not kill nor cause slaughter. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, from whom anger and hatred, pride and envy have dropped like a mustard seed from the point of a needle. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who utters true speech, instructive and free from harshness, so that he offend no one. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who takes nothing in the world that is not given to him, be it long or short, small or large, good or bad. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who fosters no desires for this world or for the next, has no inclinations, and is untrammeled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who has no interest, and when he has understood the truth, does not say, how, and who has reached the depth of the immortal. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who in this world is above good and evil, above the bondage of both, free from grief from sin, and from impurity. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who is bright like the moon, pure, serene, undisturbed, and in whom all gaiety is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who has traversed this miry road, the impassable world and its vanity, who has gone through and reached the other shore, is thoughtful, guileless, free from doubts, free from attachment and content. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who in this world, leaving all desires, travels about without a home, and in whom all concupiscence is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who, leaving all longings, travels about without a home, and in whom all covetousness is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who, after leaving all bondage to men, has risen above all bondage to the gods, and is free from all and every bondage. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who has left what gives pleasure and what gives pain, who is cold and free from all germs of renewed life, the hero who has conquered all the worlds. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who knows the destruction and the return of beings everywhere, who is free from bondage, welfare, and awakened. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, whose path the gods do not know, nor spirits, nor men, whose passions are extinct, and who is an arhat.
Good guy.
Him I call.
I consider him a friend. Thanks for being here, John. He's also very passionate about this topic.
Am I back?
Hello?
Sorry, that was my fault. I got interrupted. It wasn't the CIA or anybody like that. What I was saying is that, to be simple, I think Trump's post was a rock in the pond, and the ripples are going out. And all the parties that are concerned, which is everybody, and especially people who are going to be prosecuted for their crimes, they recognize that the rock has been thrown in the pond. Now, without believing in anything, I could have this opinion that Trump wasn't for mandatory injections. Trump stated when the Operation Warp Speed was announced that we would have a safe and effective vaccine, and he got Fauci to stand up there and agree that that was the plan, and then that didn't happen. The injections didn't happen until after Trump was not in office. So we can't say that Trump was directly the one who mandatorily injected people with the mRNA. But the mRNA has been injected. There's no way to hide the evidence. And so it's possible that Operation Warp Speed was a sting. But if it was a sting, we'll have the evidence within this month, because it's either going to turn in the direction of exposing and having legitimate judicial or military type of response, or it won't. And I don't think people are going to let it go without following up on it. I followed up on it today, and I got a need to prove your account is human. I posted a lot about it. And I go right to safety, because I know that I have not threatened people or lied about things, so they have no legitimacy to censor my account. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak, and I look forward to Trump getting information from people who've done the forensic research, like so many on this platform, Lindsay, Nick, so many people. All the data is available, so if they continue to pretend it's not, then we know that they're truly on the wrong side.
Thanks for sharing, Google Foo. Dr. Lori, let's let John Kitover go, because he hasn't gotten a chance to go yet.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, this is big news, and Kennedy, is really, I think, changing the entire uh, neural network of Americans. I mean, just getting here right now, Augustus and his beautiful Mrs. Palante helped spread, the message of Kennedy, which is that 35 injections, you know, today for an infant versus 4 back in 86. I mean, we are basically, through Big Pharma, poisoning ourselves in the name of making profit, creating debt, and taxing ourselves through Medicare, Medicaid. So the government is broke. America's broke. We're $37 trillion in funded debt. We're $100 trillion plus in unfunded debt. So if we don't start making serious pragmatic decisions on priorities of spending and borrowing, we are digging a hole of such epic proportions that hundreds of years of American history are going to just it's all going to implode because we are borrowing and spending ourselves into a deep grave. But the good news is that Kennedy and Trump are pushing back against Big Pharma, that they're not just mouthpieces and that they are calling for transparency and for publishing the real numbers. And, I would say as an independent filmmaker myself and an artist and a creative, that just interviewing individuals that have had adverse reaction and posting that to YouTube, because you can and cannot say things still with regards to medical misinformation. If you say that I got put into a wheelchair because I got a COVID-19 vaccine, that's medical misinformation, even if it's true. So censorship is a huge issue in the medical industrial complex on these big tech platforms. And as Americans, we have to enforce our constitutional rights to freedom of speech and the press. That you, as an independent creator, are an agent of the press. You are your own news agency. So take action now. Augustus is helping me trying to defeat a vaccinologist, rhinologist, and super debt creator known as Darren LaHood in the 16th district, who has been in Congress for 10 years. And if we create $2 trillion every year in debt, he has presided over creating $20 trillion in debt for you, we the people. We have to kick these credit card mortgage debt junkies out of government. They're destroying your future now, and they're destroying your children and your grandchildren's opportunities in the future. So I thank you all for being here. I think today should be a day of resistance against vaccines, lockdowns, and baby diaper masks, all because Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and the World Health Organization decided to cook up a biological weapon in Wuhan and deploy it against the world so Big Pharma could rake in trillions upon trillions of taxpayer dollars. So God bless you all. I hope you're a patriot, and today is a day of liberation for you. God bless everybody.
All communication is hypnosis. All communication is hypnosis. With that being said, this is preservation of the human race. Today we're discussing the investigation of Operation Warp Speed led by the Trump administration, breaking news, and we've got Destiny and Jay Scott as co-hosts. What a team. We've got Dr. Lori with her hand raised. What an amazing doctor. Let's hear from Dr. Lori.
Hey, thank you, Justice. The more I'm thinking about this and kind of just taking everything into consideration, I did just change my opinion in the last couple minutes, but I was hopeful for a minute, but then I remembered this whole thing was a DOD operation. Like, nobody's going to be allowed to actually get to the truth, is what I'm thinking now. Again, considering especially because it was a DOD operation. And you know how it is, especially within the government, it's, you show us the results you want, and we'll get you the data. There's so many studies out there, and a lot of them, they're not going to look at the right ones. Like, for example, when Destiny was, I think it was Destiny talking before, no, I'm sorry, it was Jay, who was talking about there's some recent studies showing that women that were vaccinated had like 30% less pregnancy. I think that's what you said. I'm sorry if I'm misstating that, but Dr. Thorpe did a lot of research, and he's actually compiled it into reports, and everybody's gonna look at that. But he has some amazing data. So I don't know. I just kind of lost hope. I don't want to bring anybody down, but that's where I'm at right now.
Well, honestly, I'm going to give you my opinion, right? Honestly, I think behind the scenes what's going on is that RFK Jr. is like, listen, President Trump, the CDC has been actively covering up the true numbers on what's going on with this vaccine, and there's a lot of deaths and reverse side effects and injuries that have come from it. I want to pull them off the market. And President Trump's like, well, the numbers that I'm seeing coming from Pfizer show that everything's good as gold. And he's like, yo, you're being lied to. So they're going to say, okay, well, you want to pull them off the market, let's just go through the appropriate steps to do it. Let's launch an investigation. Midway through the investigation, we're going to take them off the market. How's that sound? He says, okay, that sounds good. And within the next few months, you'll see them pulled from the marketplace. That's my opinion. That's my take. As far as the DOD involvement, as far as the DOD's involvement into this investigation, I think that you're right. We might not ever get what we're looking for when it comes to this investigation, but I think that the investigation, a side effect of it will be, let's pull these things off the market. And that's the ultimate goal, right? So getting...
Yeah, I hope you're right. That's all we really need. I mean, at the end of the day, those of us that know what's up, we already know what we need to know. We just need to get them off the market.
I would just add to that.
Yeah. Go ahead and add to it.
Yeah, I would say we want to start an overall conversation about mRNA technology. Oh, excuse me, I'm a little tired because I'm finishing up a workout, but we're going to talk about mRNA technology as well as privacy concerns around data. So I'll let the next hand speak. I know we got Godfrey up on stage and other speakers. Welcome everybody. I'll be back in a second.
Hey guys, I don't know who's next, but we do have some new people on stage. Welcome Frank, welcome Joe, NH Conservative, and Godfrey. I'm not sure which one of you guys are next, but let's just go to NH and then Joe and then Godfrey.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been thinking for a long, long time because I've always thought the shots were pretty bad, although I did get the first two plus a booster, and I had a lot of trouble with the booster, but fortunately, at least we got Moderna, not Pfizer. I'm 78 years old, so I was in that group that, back then we were encouraged to get it, and, it was done by the National Guard here. We're actually giving the shots out in New Hampshire. And then the more I found out about everything, I want to keep this short, but I found out that, ivermectin was the really way to go with all the other stuff, the FLCCC and et cetera. So, and probably everybody that's on here thinks more or less the same thing, I would think. Anyway, so here's my thought about what happens if they get pulled off the market. Because I've talked to a lot of people that, think that they're an absolute miracle. And, you try to talk to them about all the negative effects and everything, they tell you that's all nonsense, it's not true, people really weren't hurt, blah, 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 blah. So what are those people going to think? When it gets pulled off the market, people are going to say, why? We want to know why. And if part of that answer is they're dangerous, they should have never been given to babies. If you've had a whole bunch of those shots, your body is just constantly making the spike protein, which will kill you, screw up your heart, mess up your brain, all this other stuff that has been talked about, whether it's true or not true, I don't know. But if that starts to open up in the general discussion of the country, I think that could be a little bit hysterical for a lot of people. And so I'm a little concerned about it, just from the point of view of how is the society going to react when they find out what really happened to them, and not only what happened to them, but what might be happening to them that they can't get rid of out of their body, because nobody has any way of really doing that. I know there's the nadokinase and all that other stuff, and I've taken some of that stuff, and I have no idea. There's no way, at least I haven't found an easy way in my hospital with my doctor to find out how much spike protein I have. I know there's probably ways of doing that. I'll just leave it there, but I think that when that comes out, that's going to be one dangerous time for the country, and it could be actually political suicide for President Trump, because even though he didn't mandate them, it was his thing that got it going. Warp speed was a big deal. He talks about it all the time.
but
Whether it's
go
good or
ahead.
bad or indifferent.
Yeah, I'm with you. Harold,
It's a big problem, I think. Thank you for the time to speak, and I'm going to drop down.
Hey, appreciate that contribution. And I actually just posted up in the Jumbotron a link to a LabCorp website where you're able to get your antibodies tested. I would say I think there are ways people can detox their bodies, but it may be different depending on who you're talking to. Really, sorry I'm out of breath, everybody, but I know we got a few new hands on stage, and thanks for the contribution, NH. And, stay positive and continue exploring holistic and natural options too. But sorry, I haven't been doing a good job keeping order of the hands. I'm finishing up my workout now, but Destiny or Augustus, do you guys know who's next?
I don't, but what was that? Sorry, this is
Joe.
Sounds good. I'm not excited yet about what I saw Trump post. It says that there's doubt. When I hear 5 words and I start hearing it often, then I will be convinced we're headed on the right path on a political level. And there will the defendant please rise? Is there going to be justice? Are they going to let these people just slide under the rug? And as far as detox goes, I recognize that we haven't been poisoned for years. We've been poisoned.
All right, I'm gonna live
And
stream
all of
this
that
on
came out
X.
unwound. Even Bobby's been talking about aluminum.
So,
and how it
hit that like
causes
button,
allergies.
hit that share
I
button.
It was just looking at one of the adjuvants.
This is a response from
seeing
the
the side
Trump's
effects of it
post about Operation
being,
Warp Speed.
it was anaphylactic shock and hyperallergenic reactions. That was my childhood illness and why my daughter's been unvaccinated. But it's not the only attack that